What a go on, people? It's that time again for the Jamaica mix. And today we have quite a bit of things that we want to get out of the way. Um, election is done and behind us, but some of the people in Jamaica still seem to think that the election process still underway. And one wonders when we're gonna call a halt to that, if you will, just so that the country we can move forward. Um, there are lots of opportunity, well, plenty challenges that are out there, but like with all challenges, it's just a function of how you approach them, because embedded within those challenges are opportunities. And so I want us to spend this evening looking at some of the opportunities that are obviously present to us right now, and how we can capitalize on these opportunities. I want to take a look at the Assyria Babsy Grange produced or presented what is called a green paper in the Parliament this week, albeit with the first sitting of the new parliamentary term, and the parliamentary team, the JLP, having won a third consecutive 5-year term to govern the country. And my view is, election done. One or two, I think I see one man still. There's a put out a court case against the prime minister for the constituency. But my view is, allow all views to contend, allow the man, if that is what he wants to do, to contest the results of his election, and he want to carry it all the way to the Privy Council. My view is that him have that right. That is these are the protections that a democratic system, if you will provide us with. Let me come on camera, my bad to my listeners and viewers, wherever you are joining us this evening. Let me just once again say welcome to the Jamaica Mix. And of course, if you're on Facebook and you have a comment, feel free to plug your comments in. I'll read them on the air. I'll respond to them as well. And all views content, no matter which side of the thing. We try not to carry this down the road as a political discussion. I do my best to try to stay in the middle as much as possible, and so we can have a good rigorous discussion. And especially you have some ideas, this is a good time to hear them. So what are issues? I wanna first of all touch on the upsurge in criminal activity we see going on right now on the island, and this comes against a background of the efforts of the police to try to tamp down the criminality. They have done a big job of reducing the murder tally, when you consider, certainly up until the beginning of this month, just about 550 people had basically been claimed by violence in Jamaica up to the end of September. And that was running easily just about 46 or 47% below what the figure was for last year. So in that regard, we're stepping in the right direction. But I have to be honest and put on the table a good friend of mine, a big political commentator and sociologist in Jamaica, you know, reminded me of an issue, an observation, if you will. And as he said, you know, the crime, the drop in violent crime in Jamaica, certainly over the past year, had as much to do with the fact that the country had been basically in an election campaign. Once the election is in the offing, what generally happens, you know, the criminal elements are a part of the fabric of the Jamaican society. And so once these people, once an election is up, and remember them, they're on the two side of the political divide. And so most of the times these criminal elements, if you want to call them that, basically merge in with the different political campaigns. And so if them out a street, a camp, you know, a shadow the respective campaigns, what happens is that they are not in their communities to deal with some of the ongoing grievances, which are which produces some of this level of violence that we see, you know, that we have become accustomed to in Jamaica. And so now that election is over, and you know, Wooly Padaman them who was out there in the hustings, they are now back in them communities, and so unresolved issues, gang related activity, those now become front and center. And so it is to a large extent responsible for some of what we see taking place. Now you may argue that, but the police had been on top of this thing, certainly for the better part of the year, and that is true. But again, if the police had been targeting, and so if you notice in the last couple of months, 2 or 3 months prior to the election, the kind of body count that the police had been responsible for had started to drop, because the man them gone about the business, them all over the place, right? And so now that election done, and you know, they are back in their communities, all of the different issues are feuding, money we're supposed to run and never pay out and things. These are the drivers of some of these events that we see taking place. And it's a really sad commentary from a Jamaica standpoint that in a country with struggling population-wise, Jamaica struggle, right? And a lot of the times these shooting events, or you know, or incidents, are claiming the lives of young people, young men, to a large extent, you know, 16, 18, 25 years old. And then worse, the children are caught in the crossfire. And you wonder to yourself, what kind of animal would go into a yard, a tenement yard, or a yard where whole heap of people gather, and you just, you know, unilaterally just open gunfire on a crowd of people? But that is what we have to contend with in Jamaica. And so, you know, some of the activities of the police, you can hardly criticize it in any negative way, because the truth be told is that given the level of criminality and the level of violence that we have become accustomed to, the police, once they come in the crosshair, they come in contact with these people, it becomes it becomes a big problem for them, and so they have to resort to utilizing maximum force. And I say Shambi from you on YouTube, blessings, I can't believe I catch you live. Well, Sham, you know, sometimes you just have to, you know, you have to be in the right place at the right time. But we generally do this on a Wednesday and on a Thursday, and you know. But having said that, let to carry the conversation. We wanna we have a little over an hour. We wanna make the most out of it. So I see Opal join as well. Good evening, Opal Morris Powell, and Opal is again one of the most loyal followers of this Jamaica Mix blog or stream, whatever you want to call it. Share with your friends, invite them to come over, and please put in your comments. If you have an issue you want to raise, a point you want to make, feel free. Once you plug it in, we're gonna raise it on the thing. So let's go back to the crime problem. So what we have seen since the election is a really significant uptick in the rates of shootings and so on. And so a big part of the thing for me is that I want to welcome Errol Walter. Should we not try to apprehend so that we can understand the root cause? Excellent point, Errol. There are several factors to that. Juba Links, welcome. Several factors, and Errol, that's an excellent point. There are two reasons. I personally believe that our police are trained in the kind of gang violence suppression and so on. But a big part of suppressing violence has to be the capturing of the perpetrators of these activities. For example, one of our big problems, first of all, is that most of the activities, the murders and so on in Jamaica, is brought on by the firearms. Now, Jamaica don't make firearms, so somebody is bringing these firearms or shipping them into Jamaica, and the majority of these guns are coming into Jamaica from out of the United States of America. And they will tell you here in America, I don't feel them problem that America is about selling guns. In fact, if the gun manufacturers in America could have get everybody to buy 5 guns every year, you buy 5 guns, and that them would want. They don't care what you do with it, right? And the more you have a shooting incident, they might tell you, go get more gun. And unfortunately, this is the environment. A lot of Jamaicans who are here, who are supporting this kind of activity in Jamaica, is fueling this by sending firearms into Jamaica. But again, no little common boy can bring gun come to Jamaica. None. So if you understand the level of scrutiny and so on that you have to go through, the customs network in Jamaica is a nightmare to deal with just for business alone. But the majority of our guns that come to Jamaica come through the Montego Bay Wharf and the Kingston Wharf. Those are the facts. People will tell you, oh, there is a whole heap of little areas around the island where boats can come in and so on. And that may be true. We're not going to argue against that. The reality, though, is that somebody big, because a gun is not a cheap thing. That simplest gun in America will run about $300 at retail. And when you see man bring AR-15 and AK-47 and all them kind of gun there, me say some what you call the sniper rifle and all them kind of thing. The police are intercept, and so them thing them heavy caliber weaponry, that thing. And the gun business in Jamaica is a business. Somebody or some set of people making a piss pot load of money off of this gun business. And so the police, to Errol's point, maybe what the police want to be doing is capturing some of them boys and bring them in live and question them. Whatever you have to do with them to get the information. I'm not give no examples, right? Juba Links, let me just say, you said earlier, when these so-called bad men come back into their community from election campaign, the elevation of the crime rate rise. But with that said, what needs to be highlighted is the fact that they align themselves with politicians shows that affiliation or line between gangsters and politicians. Well, Juba, yes. Short response to that is yes. The reality of Jamaica is that, you know, and I'm going back to my days when I lived in Jamaica and run a business. I was connected, heavy connection with the Hunts Bay Police. In fact, I was on this St. Andrew South Civic Committee, which is a little police organization that the business community um, work with the police to get certain things done and things. And police always tell me that they know to a large extent where almost everyone are a criminal there, you know, the Hunts Bay area, just to use them as an example. But the problem is, because of the political alignment, them can't just get up and go lock up a man, right? Now, I am certainly, I'm of the view that, to you know, that has kind of ramped down a little bit. That is a little bit meaning it's still there because some of them man, them politicians, yeah, and we don't have to call the name. Them inner the thing and them run certain kind of bad man. There was a time when we had the garrison thing, and we still have the garrisons. But what has happened is with the advent of the trafficking of weed and cocaine and then you have what you call the lottery scamming and all kind of bandulu activity. The the community badman them has kind of weaned themselves out, but them still provide backup services to some of the politicians. So let us not fool ourselves. The reality though is the licking them away is not the solution to a large extent. It may get rid of the problem in the short term, but it doesn't solve the problem. So where is our solution going to come from? We have to change the way, right? Police have, first of all, police need to continue with them I do. They need to put on them body camera. So when you report, say, you lick down some man in a shootout, at least transparency. Say, see the body cam footage of the man point, if you even point a gun by the police, right? The problem though is if you are intent on getting information as to who are the suppliers of these guns, right? Chambi said, I've never seen and heard these killings before election. Didn't they say crime is done? Well, listen, part of, you know, and let's call it what it is. The government of the day at the time, and they are still now the government, can win back the election. They campaigned on a, back in 2016 when Holness was just coming into the politics. He had campaigned on this premise that if you elect the JLP, you can sleep with the door open. Well, that never happened. By 2017, after they won, the murder rate went through the roof to most about 17 or 1800 people dead. The same year, 2016, because remember they won the election in February, the murder rate went up to most about 14 or 1500. It went up to 17 or 1800 in 2017. 2018, it stabilized at about 1600, and in 2019 it started to come back down. 2021 was COVID period, and so the rates dropped. But as on a whole, Jamaica has been murdering about 12 to 1300 Jamaicans every year for the last 30 years. And so during election now, when the election, the government decided towards the end of last year that they're gonna have an election this year. In January, the police was given a blank check. Liquid boy. A boy, you know, find them and lick them, you know, and that was an edict presented to the police by the government. Liquid the boy them. And so they know where some of these violence producers are now. And so it works. If you know that two man down such and such place have 10 bodies upon them name, where them liquid 10 man. If you get rid of them two man, you know, that's 20 less potential murders from them man, because they're dead. And so that work. Once you start to target the man who you know a killer and gunman, right? What it does is that it brings down the murder rate, and that has been happening. So them start to find these because them know where they find them, and them I use all kind of technology now, and them I find them. But during the election, as Cham asked, most of them, the man who in the bad man thing, basically join on the election campaign. The politician them going to tell you say nothing no go so, because and them have every reason, right, for tell you that. And you're right, Errol, the Prime Minister's thing was face a judge or Jamaica. Well, me not think him did mean the judge part. The judge is the police. So the police has been using the thing on, being a judge, jury, and executioner. So there is a big thing going, and I've been a big part of push, of that, pushing the view that the police is involved with extrajudicial killing. Now, when you see the incident that happened over Linstead Sunday night, sometimes you want to look in the opposite direction and tell the policeman and say, boy, I look for the man and just brush them. Because the heinous nature of the killing says, boy, anything or anything. But the reality is, if we are operating as a civil society, a decent democratic civil society, the rule is the police need to investigate, arrest, charge, and bring them in front of the courts. But the current approach don't seem to be suggesting that. In fact, they may say a news report that they must liquid 2 man over the course of the last 2 days, and then basically tie on the Linstead shooting against them 2 man. So them 2 man did involved. We don't know, because we essentially take the police word for it, and that can't happen. Because once we go down that road and we continue down this road, you can't turn back, right? We don't know. The court, the police need to do the investigation, as Jubaling said, the Bustamante syndrome. Well, but Buster did have a different objective. So the point is, if we are only going to, because we have a heinous crime is committed, and we're going to go after we'll go after some people because you try to find a salve for the public conscience to say, well, while we find them on there, we do a thing. My view is that we can't do that, right? We have to do better than this, because if we need to fight, first of all, the man him said, according to reports, there's some man with some long gun coming at the yard and shoot on the thing. So we want to know where them get the gun them from. You can't, if you shoot the man, you will never know that, right? Unless, as a man said to me, maybe them and shoot them because if them carrying them live, you might find out that some of them money I get gun from police or through them police contact. I tell you what me hear, right? So we have to find a way though, to find that balance, right? Where we can manage, because listen, nobody, we can tell you this much, as a man who come out of the ghetto myself, right? Opal says during election time frame, a lot of murders were not being reported. This was part of the wellness strategy, so he can campaign on the low crime rate. I hear that argument. I can't agree with it or disagree, because that is what I heard, that there was no reporting. But the reality is now election done, so we have to know thing. My position has always been Opal and Juba and Errol. You guys have posted your comments. I'm speaking directly to you to a large extent. My view is that Jamaica is a violent society, right? You have a place where you have murdered 1,300 people a year for the last 30 odd years. You don't just solve that by flicking a switch. There has to be a sort of a relearning on the part of your population to change that in a meaningful way. And so the approach that our police is taking, albeit where the Prime Minister said, face a judge or Jamaica, that is not a solution, because the one thing we know is about reprisal. Okay, reprisal. First of all, domestic murders is 30% of the murders in Jamaica. 30%. Man rape him little daughter and when do get rid of her and say that she missing whatever. People have domestic dispute over land, man, woman thing, and them can't work it out. Bam, them decide to deal with it themselves. So how you deal with them something, you have to re-educate your society. And Jamaica is not a place where the political directorate has concentrated, has any level of concentration on re-education of our population. The fact is, our school system is a joke, right? We can barely pass 20% of our academic cohort in the high school system can pass 5 subjects that them don't even have to pay for, right? The government provide every student in a high school with the opportunity to sit 5 subjects at CSEC that the government pay for it. But only less than 20% of the nearly 28,000 youngsters who sit CSEC each year is able to pass 5 or more subjects, which means that 80% of your population, and if you dive into the numbers, you realize that more than 60% of the youth in the secondary school system are leaving school no better than how them did go in there 5 years before. So we have a problem with education, right? And that is an issue that has to be addressed. In fact, we cannot, as a country, because it just leading me into one of the things that I wanted to focus on. My position is that, all right, so election over, your side win or your side never win. At the end of the day, all of we are Jamaicans. We are Jamaicans. We come from the same place. We are impacted by the same challenges. And so the job now is to move the country forward. The problem is that our political masters seem to get a thrill out of keeping the country divided, right? As Opal says, they need to be reprogrammed, getting them to unlearn certain ways of thinking and relearn how to see things through different lenses. Absolutely. So if one of the things is we have practiced this divide among our population, labor right, PNP, that when no election, we can't come together as one people. We have to be able to see Jamaica through the same lens, right? And that if your side never win, your side never win in the election, hopefully by the next election, them fix up themselves and them come back and them can win. But right now, we have to work with what we have, right? And our job is to try to get the best out of the time where we have. Because the one resource we have no control over is time. So what you do now that you are here is what is important. Don't talk about next 5 years. So if you come with a plan or your side to bring some plan and we never win, that don't mean say the plan them for go back in a lockbox and thing. Try make the next man them in the thing, make them see if you can get them for push through some of them things as well, right? We and that's the point. Opal said it about the in a different way. But Errol, as he pointed out, until we promote conflict resolution in schools, then the anger and revenge carries into adulthood. You are absolutely right. But so where do we go from here, guys? Where do we go, right? I believe that it starts with us, and that is why I'm using this platform to carry this kind of conversation, right? So that it don't matter what your political views are, because those views are only operable when election time, right? And so, but if you mean your country well and you have ideas, let's get those ideas into a place where they can work, right? And that's one of the things Juba, as you said, they need to set a precedent, JLP and PNP, in working uniformity together, regardless of which party is in power. One of the things that I was hoping that we would have become mature enough to do is to carve out a different path where we look on Jamaica in the context of the people with the ideas and people who are willing to work. And so no matter if you come from which party or the other party, I mean, it's sort of hypothetical or theoretical, but it's the best real approach, because when you look at the two sides, and you know what is funny, among the political class, you know, the labor rights and the PNPs, the two set of politicians, them are no enemy, you know. Because if you go out each of them yard, them have party and them have lick them scotch and them big food and thing together. It's only the idiot them out of street to fight one another. The only good thing is that we have had an election this past year, this September, and there was no associated violence. So there is hope. But we have to find a way that when the thing done, we can put the best set of people them together to drive the country, right? And we all work together. So next election we take a different look, but when the election done, we all come together as one team and we move in the same direction, you know. So that is my challenge. That is my challenge. The fighting against ourselves is not helping Jamaica. And what you are also doing is, without even realizing it, you're turning off some people from the process in the first instance. And we are building this perpetuation of the divide. And so people, I remember back in the 70s, people live at Trenchtown and people live at Rima. Them, before the divide, everybody do things together. And during the years of that conflict between Rima and Junglis and thing, people live within just a few yards from each other and never see each other. Don't talk to each other, right? You can't walk on College Smith Drive. You can't. There are certain streets you can't. If you don't live around it, so you can't walk around it. That is the kind of barbarism. And my prayer and hope is that we would have moved away from that completely, comprehensively. We still have some of the dragon them in the politics coming back from them all time here or there, who still believe that you need to maintain that. And you hear them say it on the election campaign and thing, which is unfortunate. But we did well with the last election. Nobody never did, right? And this is the direction where we think. I want to touch on a different quick topic here. Well, two topics. One, for those of us who live in other states, you must be aware that the administration here is literally trying to purge the country of immigrants, right? And more importantly, to make it even more increasingly more difficult for people to come to America, because they basically feel, say, people are coming from vacation, them now go back home. Cham said they are in government and they want to oversight people's business. How are we ever going to have unity? Well, I think it says that between Cham's point and Errol's argument, the media needs to act more responsibly. Poor journalism creates divide and misleads the public. Just to address those 2 points, I think it is up to us. We have access to platforms like these, and the internet has basically changed the way how information is disseminated, right? In Jamaica, the radio stations are more loyal to the government of the day, and so what they're doing is casting news reports that is favorable to the ruling administration, or in other words, you're not criticizing, right? There is no there's no effort on their part to investigate stuff and to report to the public. Rather, people were, as a man said to me, boy, nobody not come down for Andrew, you know, because they want to know so when Andrew have a party up in my yard and they must send out invitation, feed them invitation or go in the mail or whatever, right? And yeah, the opposing party does provide the oversight. In fairness to the PNP, they did an excellent job as an opposition, even with a reduced amount of seats in the House, 14 seats, and they did as best as they could to keep the government honest. Now them have 28 seats. Let's see where we go. Them should be able to do twice as good a job, hopefully. But to Errol's point, the media, there is a certain amount of bias. We have one radio station that is referred to as a JLP FM station. Anything I go on, them get that information first, or them is the mouthpiece for the government. You know, it is what it is. Our job, having access to platforms like this, is to use it, right? Because ultimately, that changes things. People now realize that there are other people out there who are not afraid to tackle stuff. And so that is where we have to go. The whole idea of bringing the country together, for the people who raise it, and the charm in particular, is a process. And we just have to keep going at it until the message comes home and people start to believe in that message. But I want to go back to the Trump thing and the visitors. So apparently they're going to now add some surcharge on getting some people who go to the embassy to get a visa. And so the whole idea seems to be to make it more and more difficult to come into the United States of America. And, you know, people traveling to America to a large extent come America for vacation, the little shopping and so on and so forth. And so on. And so my view is, it's time that we make where we come from, the place where we come from, habitable and hospitable enough that people not see no necessity for left come America if thing. I mean, we live here. You know, it is what it is. But so, for example, every year, Jamaica send a couple hundred youngsters come at pen relays, right? Pen relays, and them the America, it cost easily about $300,000 to $400,000 per youngster to send them come a pen relays. And so my thing is, if you add on the visa, additional thing for visa and all kind of the restrictions, why is it? And Errol, you're a man who in the athletics thing. I think the time has long been with us where we don't need pen relays in a Jamaica, right? The idea about running down a US visa, we need to make America keep them visa, and then them have to open the door and beg people to come back there, right? So my thing is pen relays. Why can't we upgrade Gibson relays to a 3-day relay carnival, and we do what we call the reverse tourism. So instead of we are spend money for come America we don't have, our youth them, make the people, because the Americans need the competition from the Jamaicans of a pen relays, right? And we can invite some of the school them from Trinidad and Barbados and St. Lucia. St. Lucia produce big athlete now, say, what's she name? The 100 meters Olympic champion, right? It's about time that we use what we have. And where am you know, if you follow me, right? Xenophobia, spending 19 billion to eliminate a sector that pays 80 billion in taxes. Well, listen. So my thing is, why can't we develop Gibson relays to an international relays, right? And Absolutely. They don't pay the schools to perform. They don't give you nothing. The schools have to go there, find them accommodation, food, everything, transportation, and all that they did is all that they do is capitalize, because what happened is some thousands of Jamaicans converge on Franklin Field a year time for to set them see the Jamaican athletes them are come up heads. My view is those people who are got a pen relays who live a foreigner buy a plane ticket and come to Jamaica and come see the athlete them in the raw perform a yard, because none of the youngsters them who go a pen relays no get no scholarship. University of Pennsylvania no get no scholarship, right? Yeah, Julian Alfred from St. Lucia, 100 meters champion. So my thing is, let us capitalize on the strength where we have as Jamaica. Jamaica one of the top track country in the world, but we not do nothing with it, right? And it starts with the youngster there. So we need to use what we have, right? We have been participating in international athletics from as far back as as 1948 with the Olympic Games in London, and we have done extremely well for a small country that like Jamaica. We have done extremely well, top, right? As Errol pointed out, the scouts travel to Jamaica to look at the talent in a Jamaica. So you don't need to go to pen relays to go look no scholarship, because if you are capable of getting a scholarship, the scouts are traveling. Plus, these same scouts have local scouts in Jamaica who appraise them of the prospects, so that them can come down there, come look. Sham said, talk to Babs about that. I think Babs should resign and give it to someone younger with bright ideas. But I look like, yeah, listen to me. Mine itself, Sham, because I saw me feel too. I mean, I take nothing now for Babsy. Babsy has done as best as she could with the portfolio. I see where she announced a green paper in the parliament this week, which looks at culture. Now let me give you some information. Jamaica ranks among the top 10 most culturally influential countries in the world, and you have over 190 countries in the world, right? And Jamaica in the top 10% of that, right? Me no want to go down the hardcore with the figures, but because up to a couple years ago we were in the top 5, right? Top 5 country culturally. And what is our culture? Our culture is not just the music, that's one piece of it. The food, that's another piece of it. Our art, our track and field. These are the things that drives Jamaican culture. Culture on a global scale is worth just under 3 trillion. May I have to pronounce the H them good. $3 trillion a year. And so the question that we have to ask ourselves is, how can we maximize? And I agree with you, Errol, that we should separate sports and culture, because it's two big portfolio by themselves, right? And or even if you twin sports with something else, but culture need to stand up in its own yard, on its own veranda, own foot, because it's big. If the global market for culture is $3 trillion, right? My philosophy, and Charm, it look like you hear me, listen to me, big, because my thing is, Jamaica's economy has not grown in the last 25, 30 years. Because 1% growth and a growth, right? 1% growth and a growth. So if we are serious about growing our country's economy, we have to start to look at the things that we can do them differently, or areas that we haven't been paying attention to. And the culture is the biggest thing. For example, right now there's a big lawsuit going on between, I think it was the Steele and Clevey consortium that build out the rhythm, the dembow rhythm, that the Puerto Ricans, the Hispanic community, cotton on the tune and basically build reggaeton out of it, right? They build reggaeton. And so now the Steely and Clevie consortium is now suing, and this matter is before the court. Reggaeton was built on the back of the Shabarang tune, Dembow, 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 if you remember that tune, right? Reggaeton was built on that. And Steely and Clevie, who put the rhythm together, don't get 5 cent fee. And so this is now a multi-billion, not billion in a Jamaica money, a multi-billion US dollar lawsuit that is in the hosting, right? And so this is going to upset the cat among the pigeon. But it also is saying to the policymakers in Jamaica, if we had a proper policy for culture, and in particular our music over the years, we wouldn't be here. This would have been a foregone. But here's the problem. Our music is created by people from the underbelly of the Jamaican society. Some little people from the ghetto or them around the music. And so rather than put any resources behind it, as Errol said, we invest more in tourism than culture. Well, we're not an investment in a culture, really. More in tourism than culture and sports. Yet tourism profit is, well, only about 20 cents out of every dollar in a tourism is retained in a Jamaica, maybe even less than that, right? So 80 odd cents of every dollar earned by the tourism interest is repatriated outside of Jamaica, right? So just to give you an idea. Whereas culture, because it's a industry that is germane to the internal Jamaican populace, that money is going to retain itself in those communities. Let me give you an example. Right now, the government almost banned any kind of street dance, which is stupid. Because when a dancer keep, I mean, I'm going to use it as an example to show you how the culture thing works. A dancer keep or a stage show, right, in our community. When the man them put up the poster and decides that they must string up a sound to keep a dance, the wholesaler, right, make a money. Because the food man them all come and, you know, whosoever put on the dance, the catering. But them food they buy from the local wholesaler. Liquor buy from the local wholesaler. The dressmaker, the hairdresser, all of the fashionistas, all of that money is retained within the community. The job is to keep that money circulating. The longer the money stays in the community, is the better it is for the economy. But when you kill those activities, what you are doing is say to people, go spend the money out of street. So a lot of the communities now, you can't keep a dance. You have to go to somebody else's place and things. So you're destroying your domestic economy. Well, culture is the same thing, right? And so we not encourage dancehall music because gunman and a slackness and thing. Well, the Japanese, them did come to Jamaica in the 1980s. And them come and them take a look on the sound system thing in Jamaica. And before you know it, Mighty Crown sound system became the #1 dancehall sound in the world. And they have been the #1 sound for over 25 years. 30 years in what we're talking about, right? Mighty Crown, them finally throwing the towel the other day. The man them said they all know and them retire, right? A Japanese sound system is the biggest sound in the world. And where do you think them learn that from? Jamaica. Do we get any royalty out of that? Absolutely zilch, zero, nothing. So the point is, and then dancehall queen. Me remember when Carleen, Beanie Man all-time girlfriend, brown skin Carleen, was the dancehall queen. And before you know it, the dancehall thing big, right? Yeah, because good point, Errol. Them use dancehall for election hearing because that's how the system use poor people and small people. Them do Delroy Wilson, that them with Better Must Come, and Delroy Wilson nearly dead for hunger because man brand him say man him a PNP and he couldn't even get a stage show after that. Right? And the PNP never pay him even 5 cents for use the music. But the point to the point of me, dancehall queen thing, and some girl come from Japan and come to Jamaica and there for about 6 months to a year. And before you know it, the next time there was a dancehall queen contest, is a Japanese girl became the dancehall queen. A girl that call herself Junko Uno. You never forget that. Dancehall is one of the biggest industry in a Japan in terms of entertainment. It's a multi-billion-dollar industry now in a Japan. In a Jamaica, dancehall now what 5 cents because we kill it. Politically, the uptown brown in them who live in Jamaica who influence the politician them because them give them money for election. Tell them say dancehall. Them I see me them treat Bob Marley, dirty head Rasta boy, you know for me, dirty head Rasta boy and want make him in a hero and all of that. You will never see Marley as long as the government are in a power as national hero because them I will tell you the Governor General is a 7-day Adventist. And them man they now go accede to making no Rasta boy national hero because them not have no nothing for downtown underprivileged people, and that is the problem. The music industry in Jamaica was built by the underprivileged set of Jamaicans, and so after nearly 70 years, or after more than 70 years of struggle, now Mr. Babsy announced a green paper in terms of a direction for culture, right? And she you know she read this into the thing in the parliament. When was it? It was yesterday or the day before, right? Where she addressed the parliament and was talking about this this project that Babsy is announcing, right? Has been some 20 odd years in the making, right? They call it this creative. She says she's going to expand Jamaica's cultural and creative industries, and of course the PNP support it because them did have that in them thing, and that makes sense if the thing is a good policy. But the problem I have is that 20 years ago we write this thing, and what she is setting out is a 10-year roadmap to strengthen Jamaica's creative economy, a sector already contributing more than 5% of GDP. Well, they finally have some figures, but them can't tell you the exact thing, and nearly 3% of national employment, right? She outlined plans for create new institutions and so on, strengthen intellectual property protections, and develop sustainable funding streams to support artists, entertainers, and cultural practitioners. You don't need, people don't want no handout. What people want is an opportunity to use what them have to make a decent living. And so while I welcome Babsy Grange's thing, I believe that a lot of what she mentioned in our green paper is already in place. For example, the University of the West Indies now have a cultural studies unit at UA, but I think them only offer one course, right? My view is if a man decides, say, or a youth, man or woman, young man or woman, youngster in a high school decides, boy, I want to be an entertainer, that youngster shouldn't have to sit down in a school and run through a grammar education program that him have no interest in until him reach 19 or 18 or 19, him leave school and then him have to go end up to go somewhere else. We should be able to, since culture is such a significant aspect of our economic development, we need, first of all, a marriage of sorts. Marry culture into the secondary school curriculum. So the Ministry of Culture and a whole heap of other things tie on the ministry. Take Errol Walter's point. We need to strip away culture from the ministry and put it by itself. That's the first thing. Because it's so big. Even if Jamaica is looking at even 1% of the 3 trillion, right? 1%, a significant money that we now make right now. And it's worthwhile pursuing that as an economic target. Now, I believe that you have to tie that culture ministry into the Sean Paul recently criticized Soundclash despite making fame from dance. I try me waste time to talk about Sean Paul. I mean, respect him abilities and thing and Ray. But sure, me can't bother with that. But come back. So the Ministry of Education and the Ministry of Culture and the Ministry of Industry and Commerce. Them 3 ministries they need to tear down the fence between them. And the 3 entities need to work together to make this a reality. Me believe that culture by itself can deliver to Jamaica far more than tourism currently. And it don't require the level of infrastructure investment that tourism has. Tourism benefit because now a whole heap of big neck brown skinned people in a tourism and white people. And they come and the government give them all kind of tax concessions and all kind of holidays and incentives. And when them done, only about 20 cents out of each dollar left in Jamaica. Everything gone back, right? We need to look at developing industries that will benefit our average Jamaican population. Reorient our thinking. You know, I forgot to school to get a degree in a culture. We want certification. So change the paradigm. This thing about you have to get a degree. I mean, I'm not against a degree because I may have 2, right? 3, come to think of it, right? So I'm not against degree, but may I say the time has changed, and the youngsters them now need skills training. We need to turn out as many musicians as we can every year, and when those musicians done, those who will find work in the hotels or in the bands and things, others will go for it. Every day there is at least 100 reggae concerts being kept all over the world. And if you look at the bill for those reggae concerts, on less than 1% of them, you're going to find a Jamaican artist on the advertising bill. Because we don't have the dispersal. So we need to create more artists and send them go foreign, go wherever they want to go work, Africa, Europe, wherever, go play music and sing and whatever. Because when they make a money, they must send some of the money they come to Jamaica. Remittance is a big part of how we make the country's foreign exchange earnings, right? We need to start to look at the thing from that perspective. We need to look at the earnings in terms of royalties and the use of intellectual property, because that is foreign exchange generation, right? And yes, the money will come into the artists themselves, but at the same time, the country, since them are our galas, the foreign exchange, I mean, it's an earning opportunity. It is a way to change the per capita GDP of the country, right? Jamaica produces some 400 to 500 new tune every day in Jamaica. It is as serious as that, right? But granted, less than 10% of them find them way. The other 90% fall by the wayside. But people still make money off of the music, regardless, whether them turn a big hit one way or the other. The bottom line is that we need to start to look at what our strengths are. And because if this is our strength, let us operate from these strengths, right? The ministry is talking about creating an institution to focus on culture. You don't need to build nothing more. We have it already, right? Not because the place named Edna Manley and is a JLP administration. Edna Manley is an institution, and we should center the cultural development in that facility, right? Provide it with the funding, put in the courses, put in the lecturers. So instead of we have the University of the West Indies are run a one course, the university can be the degree granting institution at a certain level, but the place to channel the development of a culture from an incubator standpoint has to be the cultural training center, right? We don't need to reinvent the wheel. We just need to put more grease in the axle so the bearings them not rub out, right? That's what we need to do. And so I am, I welcome to a certain extent the tabling of this green paper, right? But I think we don't need to, because one of the problem with our politicians is that we make enough announcement. For example, Babsy before election said they going to spend almost $1 billion to redevelop the stadium. My view is, why bother redevelop the stadium? Why don't we go down and St. Catherine and find a piece of land and build a complex that will be able to cater and offer to international competitions, like football, track and field, everything in that one facility, right? And take it out of the city where it is self-contained. Keep the stadium, yeah, but you use it for lesser events, right? So we just need to recalibrate our thinking, right? My philosophy is, let us all as one country work together, no matter who are the government, right? Because I promise you this, may I keep them honest, right? If me see where them now going good, may I amplify it, right? May I talk to them, may I reach out to them, may I interview them, may I bring them on the program, and may I think. And when them do good, may I boost them up too, right? So, me a Jamaican, and I think all of we share the same identity, and that's the direction that we need to go, right? Let us look at two things. Move the agenda for this culture thing with the ministry, bring it forward, and let us move quickly. We don't need to wait till 5 years before anything happens. We can start do them thing there from now, right? We have people like Dennis Howard, we have Donna Hope, we have a whole heap of people who in the culture thing already, right? Version him said, Charm, he said, working together will not. Well, listen, it's up to us, Charm, to change the thinking. When these people know, say, other people out there, I watch them and I amplify the misbehavior, it will change. It will force a change where we want. Me not believe that people irredeemable, right? Even though sometimes you wonder about some people. But me believe that all the way are one, right? And even though we might have disagreements, the only way you can imagine, you put 4 horses for draw a car, and you put 2 at the front and 2 at the back, right? Them now go nowhere because them are pulling in an opposite direction. But if you put the 4 of them together, with them head facing in the same direction, the car will start to move. That's how me look on it. It's an oversimplification, but me believe in it, right? And yeah, me I watch them too, but me also believe that people are not irredeemable. And I think the first point of change in terms of behavior starts with how me and you, Charm, look at the thing, right? So we have to change our thinking, right? Before we can impress the necessity for that change upon a third party, right? And my thing is, let's try. It's not enough to say, boy, them now go thing on, because all we do is just continue the same thing, right? Listen, I pay a lot of attention to this thing, but again, I am a man who believes you know, I have a little grandson that just born the other day. I mean, I watch that picnic develop. I may believe that as people are the same thing, you know. People behaviors are learned. And the same way we learn bad behavior, we can unlearn them and learn good behavior to replace it. But again, the people who take on the role to teach them, it requires a commitment. It requires that we spend the time, right? And try to appreciate. If me understand why you think that way there, then me have a better way to deal with it, right? Me say, all right, man, all of the thing. The reality is that that are the culture of our politics, but we can change it, right? And if we, the people who have the access, the tools, the power, the microphone, is thing. I don't believe that we have to do the same thing over and over. Because if you're only a mad person, do the same thing over and over, I expect that they will get a different result. My philosophy is we can force that change. It's going to take time, right? But first, you have to be willing to put yourself out there. There was a time when I wouldn't be doing a program like this. Today I'm doing it because I recognize that I have a platform. People are listening to you. People are look to you for advice. The same people who go like them brighter than you. And quietly, I'm going to reach out there and say, oh, so and so and so. And then you realize by the time you investigate it, are the people who you talk about, are them. I feel the pinch, so they might come and think. So we have to start somewhere. So listen, this, as usual, I always love to share my thoughts with our audience. I want you to check out the if you're in South Florida, I will invite you to check out the exhibition. I have a little exhibition I do next week, Saturday, right? At the Holiday Inn Express. A little pinch of the my collection. It is called An Artistic Legacy. So come check me out. 1701 North University from 4 o'clock until 10 o'clock Saturday evening. And you know, refreshments, talk about my artistic journey and my legacy. And we're gonna sell some art. Plus at Christmas. Christmas I come around the corner. I make an excellent Christmas gift. You know, no expensive. We are trying to cater, keep the price them down. So it, as we say, it's a small taste of my collection. So come check me out, Artistic Legacy. And if you're on the website, I'm gonna invite you as well to check out my new book, Sheila 2.0 Unbroken. This is on the website at yaadmedia.com, YAAWD media.com, and just scroll through. Plus, it I get a little chilly now, so you can pick up some nice sweatsuits and things, sweatshirts off of the site as well. All right, but until we catch up again, and check out, if you're on YouTube, check out my channel at on YouTube. If you haven't done so yet, subscribe to the channel and share the video, and always leave a comment. Until we catch up again, enjoy your weekend wherever you are, and thanks again for spending time with me. Big respect. Big respect.